Guys, did you ever have that feeling when you were younger, that feeling waiting for Christmas? Do you remember? Do you know what I'm talking about? That feeling where you're like Christmas is only 180 days away, or it felt like that. It was actually December 20th or something. You're out of school, but it still felt so far away. You just couldn't wait because you knew something was coming. Well, guys, I had that experience with the handheld that we're going to take a look at today. This thing was announced a long time ago, and it was very exciting when it was announced because it's coming at a time with a new generation that can do some new capabilities. And today we're going to take a look at it. It's here. Finally, the K56 from Kinhank, our friends at Kinhank. Now, this handheld features a Tiger 620 processor. It's suspiciously close to what we saw in a generation before that was considered sort of the top tier from the likes of Ambernick and Pal Kitty and others, the T618. So we're going to take a look at this, unbox it, give some first-hand impressions, and talk about what it can do. Our friend Sleepy has been doing some testing over on this, also PSI Dozer. So I'm going to give you a little information from their tests on this. But anyways, remember to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode of that. Let's get into this. I've been waiting forever for it. I'd like to remind the contestants that the response should be in the form of a question. Now, back to the game. We got our categories today, starting with, no wait, I'm not a Jeopardy host. I'm not cool like Alex Trebek was. Gosh, I miss you, Alex. Anyways, deadheads, welcome back to the channel. Or welcome to the channel for the first time, new deadheads. Today, we're going to take a look at... Okay, so let's start with the box. And I find the box to be somewhat attractive. It does have a nice textured design on it, and we do have the K56 name, handheld game console. They also have a little motto here, reliving childhood memories. This is a 5.5-inch full view HD screen and a large battery. It does have an ergonomic design, but I like the front of this. Moving around the sides, and there's not a lot there, but we do have handheld game console, play anytime, anywhere. That is on the sides of it. Moving towards the back, we do get the specs, or the product parameter as they call it. Again, another nice picture of the handheld on the back. This does have a Tiger 620 or UMS 9230S, they're calling it. This has 2 big cores and 6 little cores. It's featuring the Mali G57 GPU, a GPU we've seen before and seems to perform pretty well. This handheld does have 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gig eMMC, along with support for a micro SD card, and it comes in black, blue, and white. Again, this is a pretty nice packaging, but man, we've waited, so let's get this thing out of the package. And sliding this out, we do have the handheld, and we'll move this out of the way. And then below this, we do have our items here. Let's start with the USB-C cord. So we have a USB-C to A cord. It is orange to match the buttons we have on this. It does come in orange buttons on the blue, black, and white variant, which I think are nice. Shout out to Tech Dweeb. I bet he would like that. We also have a USB-C reader here for the micro SD card. That's nice they've included that. Digging deeper, we do have our screen protector here, and this one is a actual good screen protector. This is none of that flimsy stuff. This is the good stuff, and I'm glad to see they've included that. Moving into the manual, and we do have a pretty decent manual here. It's black and white, nothing fancy, but it does have the information you would need, including some QR codes here. This thing does ship with 2 different front ends. One of them they're calling the Kinhank edition of the Emulation Station desktop, and I'll talk a little more about that later. And also Pegasus. So it's nice that they have this in here, especially for Pegasus, which has not really been that popular here in the West, but is very popular in Asia. But let's get this thing back together, put back away, so we can actually take a look at the handheld, which we've been waiting for forever, deadheads. As I put this back together and box this up, I do want to mention the fact that this has a couple of front ends. I just said it earlier, and it comes with Pegasus, something that you're not normally seeing, but is very popular in Asia. It also comes with a copy of Emulation Station Desktop Edition, which they're calling the Kinhank Edition. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I wanted to mention those. But getting the handheld out, sorry to interrupt the video, deadheads, but I wanted to share with you this great sling bag from Genki. Our friends at Amazon sent this over for us to review, and I wanted to share with you how awesome and amazing this bag is for transporting your precious handhelds. This bag has awesome features such as a fidlock magnetic clasp, a design for modern handhelds, and it's not your average cheap PCB carry. This is crafted with high quality materials and premium hardware. The black one that I have here has Cordura. That's right, Cordura 1000D exterior. Renowned for its durability and strength, Cordura 1000 has a double PU waterproof coating, making this black Seiya ultra rugged. As I show you this opening of some of my handhelds here, I have found this to be my friend when I want to take more than one handheld. Yeah, I'm crazy. I have several handhelds. But something like the upcoming Switch 2 would also benefit from this awesome bag. Anyways, hit the link if you want to pick one of these up in the description below. We want to thank our friends at Genki and Amazon for sending this over. Back to the show. And first impressions of this is I like how this feels. It feels somewhat familiar. And so I'm going to show some comparisons here with a couple of our handhelds. So let's start with the F5 Vortex that was put out earlier this year. Now that's a Rock Chip 3566, so performance-wise, it's not going to be in the same class. But as I show these next to each other, you can see that they're similar in size, with the F5 Vortex being just a little bit bigger. But these are both of a very nice shape. One that's nice to hold and use. I like the shape of these types of consoles, especially with the contours on the back. Now, putting this up against something more recent like the A527 and the E6 Max, which we're showing here, it also is bigger. It swarms that handheld. Now, that handheld's in a class of CPU that's going to be more comparable to this with this, looking at both of these together. But someone asked about this versus the 406H. So kind of showing against Ambernick's offering, this thing swarms it in size. But again, not a real good comparison because that's a 4-inch handheld versus this, which is a 5.5-inch. So that kind of gives you a comparison on size. But picking this up and holding this, I was immediately just really happy with the way it felt. But let's kind of take a look at the buttons and start testing them. And the buttons are nice. These are nice buttons. I like the little orange theme they went with this. They have orange on the buttons, and then they have a color scheme that comes in blue, white, and black. But these buttons have a nice travel distance. Moving over to the D-pad, and boy, what a surprise there. This D-pad feels a lot like the D-pad on the Retroid Pocket Classic, one that I just praised. So I'm really happy with this D-pad. It's a little bit on the small side. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but it has nice pivot to it, and it moves around nice and feels really good. Moving on to these Switch style sticks, and they have the nice little grip texture on them, just like the Vortex has, or the Magic Zero. I'm sorry, not the Magic Zero, the Powkitty X35H. So that's what it reminds me of, the sticks on the Powkitty. So these are nice sticks. They are Switch style, but they are clicky, and they do feel good and have a good distance to them. Rounding out the buttons, we do have a home and we have a back and home button on the left, and then we have a start and select on the right. Going over the rest of the handheld, we do have our volume rocker on the top. We do have a power button, nothing on the sides, and on the bottom we do have a single SD card slot, a hole for our for our headphones, and then a USB-C slot. No HDMI out on this thing. But again, picking this up and holding this and just using this, I found this to be very comfortable, and I actually liked how it felt in the hands. Now, the triggers. The triggers were the one place where I was a little bit concerned because they're not loud, so I give them that, but they don't have a lot of travel distance to them. They feel a little bit stiff. So the triggers on this are, especially after using the Pocket Air from Ioneo, which I love the triggers on that. Maybe that's just spoiled me. But if I was going to say this thing has any weakness in hardware, so far it's going to be these triggers. They're not terrible or anything like that. I just don't really think I just don't think they're the best that they could have been. But we'll see when we start playing some games. Looking at the back of this, I want to talk about the design of it. It has a really nice textured design on it, which is nice to hold. It's got the K56 logo back here, and then it has these little, like, I don't know, design in it with these grips, which makes it nice and grippy. So when you're holding this, you can kind of feel the texture, and it's just a nice feeling handheld. This doesn't feel cheap at all in any kind of way. This feels nice to hold and use, and I really like it. I was kind of surprised by it. Again, summing up the hardware, it is a very nice hardware. The only weakness I can find are the triggers, which I don't love. They work well. I just think they're a little bit stiff. Now let's talk about the screen. We do have a nice screen. This is an IPS panel, not an OLED screen. So nothing fancy there. Again, it looks as good as what we've seen in other comparable screens of this size, but I just used the same size in OLED on the Pocket Air, and man, OLED is just a world different. So it's kind of hard to go back to IPS. So that is the handheld. Now let's boot this thing up and talk about the OSs and the performance. So booting this up, this comes with Android 14. And let me say it clear. This comes with the most complete, the nicest, probably the best implementation I've seen of simply plug and play from a handheld using Android. While something like Retroid has done very good with their implementation, this one just has a nice, clean version of Android that has not one, not two, but three installed front ends. So let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to start with their Kinhank Emulation Station Desktop Edition. Now I'm going to show a little image here. This was something that they tried to license from the developer, and the developer did not agree to that. So they went out and they did it anyways. I'm not going to get into whether or not this is stolen code or if it's open source or anything like that. But I do want you deadheads to know that this is not approved by the people who did the original emulation station. Now, as we get past that, let me say that this implementation of the Kinhank front end, that they're calling it, the Emulation Station desktop, is awesome. I'm not going to lie. This thing comes with a 128 gig card that is completely scraped, completely set up, in order. It has some systems I haven't even seen with ROMs. And if you want something that is simply pick up and play, usually what we get in the Linux side, this is going to be it. It is the most complete since Magic X with their 028 that I've seen in an implementation. But remember, Magic X doesn't have a touchscreen. That Android implementation is a little bit janky. This is a touchscreen. So this is essentially like having a phone. Now, here's another funny thing. This thing wanted me to set up a fingerprint reader and a face reader when I set it up. So not sure what that's about because those are not on this hardware. But that being said, the implementation here of both Emulation Station, as I show through the different systems that are on here and give you a little bit of footage of what this thing looks like, it's just really nicely done. It looks nice. It has information. You can see that they've added the little Kinhank stamp on a lot of this. I know that this may turn into a bigger controversy, but Kinhank has put in the work here to have this thing completely scraped, completely set up, and just ready to go. I mean, I was just very impressed with it. Normally, I spend a lot of time trying to set up a card. This was ready to go. Now, switching over to Pegasus, the same thing here. Pegasus is a real pain to set up. I've tried to set that up in the past, and I didn't enjoy doing that. This implementation of Pegasus is, again, plug and play. It's just ready to go. It has everything set up and scraped, and it has even a section for 3DS, which doesn't appear on Emulation Station Desktop Edition. So Pegasus is very slow to load. So I'm going to show some footage of it here as it loads up and everything. But Pegasus took a while to load up, but this is something where you put in the work to set it up and you have a nice front end. I do like the front end. There are some themes. I have not tried to install any themes or download. I just went with the basic one that they have here. But as this thing continues to load, I'll show that it does have a nice setup in a sort of horizontal manner where you can cycle through the different games just by using your L and R shoulder buttons. So Again, it also has preloaded Daijisho. Now that one is not set up. You do have to set that up. But what a nice thing for them to give you these choices and have two of these front ends that are just ready to go and set up, and then a third one if you want to use it. It doesn't ship with much else. There's a couple of emulators, but the other thing is Retroarch on this thing is completely set up with the way that you would want it on something that's wide like this for 4.3. It does have overlays, and these are nice looking overlays. As I show some gameplay footage here, these are really nice looking overlays that they've set up, which normally I myself would do. So Pegasus is finally loaded in here, and you can see it does have some music, and I don't want to play too much of the music because it could be copyrighted, but it does have a nice look to it. So again, I can't tell you how much this was a surprise. Even though this is controversy, even though there's a whole gray area and all this, this is plug and play, ready to go. I shouldn't be surprised because Kinhank is known for selling lots of hardware like that. It's usually hard drives and little game systems you can hook up to your TV. So you're getting a nice experience. If you want to not mess with all the tinkering, if you want to have something that is just set up to go, to just play games, this is it. This is it, guys. This was a nice surprise. And that addition of value makes this thing worthy in a lot of ways. Now, let's talk about this CPU, the T620, the Tiger 620. I'm going to direct you over to Sleepy, and I'm going to direct you over to some Discord so you can see some of the benchmarks. I'm not getting into that in this video, but this thing is got not really set up to play PS2 and GameCube and Wii. You're going to get some of that running on this. I didn't really mess with it, but it's possible with this CPU. Long story short, this CPU is somewhere around the same as the Tiger 618. So we're talking about like the RG505, the RG405M. We're talking about those Ambernic devices, the PAL Kitty device that had it. So we're in that same ballpark, the Retroid, that's going to be doing similar benchmarks and similar gaming with that. Why they went with this instead of the 618, I think it has a little bit better GPU. So, performance-wise, there may be a little more squeezed out of this than the T618, but don't get your hopes up. This is not, anywhere near like T820 or something you're going to find in the Retroid. As far as everything below PS2 and GameCube, you're going to see good. Again, this is running some 3DS as I show some footage here. So it is up and running 3DS pretty decently for it. But I would say this is going to play sort of like the Retroid Pocket Classic. It's going to be in that same sort of area with it because you're going to be able to play some Saturn on this. You're going to be able to play some PSP. So as I show some footage of PSP, let me talk about the experience of PlayStation Portable. Oh man, I like this. I was able to do some upscaling, add some textures to it, and PSP is a dream on this thing. We have a widescreen 16:9 proper resolution with it, and it's just good to play. If you want a really good dedicated PSP machine that can play everything below it, including some Saturn, here you go. At $130, this is a good deal for that. So let's wrap up this video, this initial look and unboxing. For the price they're asking here, I would have been pushing back and saying this is not worth it. But the fact that it comes with this software and this setup that is just plug and play and ready to go makes this a great handheld for somebody to start out that wants to start out at a higher level of emulation. Because again, you're going to be able to pull up some 3DS. You're going to put some PS2 on here. It'll work. You're going to get some GameCube on here. It'll work. But mostly they're going to play what's shipped on this thing. This card is completely filled with games, and it goes up through Saturn, some 3DS, and some other systems. But everything that's on here is going to play very well. It's properly scraped. It looks fantastic. Retroarch is set up with the right overlays. It's got nice looking shaders on it. It's just a really nice plug and play environment. Overall, I'm really surprised with this handheld. I found it to be very comfortable to hold. I found it to be fun to play. And although I have a lot of handhelds, especially the Retro Pocket Classic that I'm liking, I'm finding that feeling here again with this. Now we're going to do another full review on this and put it against the E6 Max. We're going to do a video between those two in the future, and that's where I'll really try to test the two of them and see what kind of performance we're getting out of both of these. But initial thoughts on this? I like it. It surprised me. I think it's good. And if you find yourself finding one of these or on a deal, I think it's worth it. I wouldn't pay more than what they're asking for it. But again, it surprised me. So, anyways, guys, that is my unboxing and first look at the K56. Now, there was originally a K560 that was supposed to come out. I don't know if that's going to still come out. That was going to have the Helio G99 instead of this, but we'll see. We'll see how this sells and if that comes out or not. Remember to hug your loved ones and love your hugged ones because tomorrow is never promised. We'll see you next time, Deadheads. Dead Fred out.